What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another episode of Predict the Prem, where me and my brother go head-to-head in predicting Premier League outcomes. Yes, you're right, that's not my brother next to me. It is my brother, but my brother from another mother.
Correct.
But I'm talking about my actual brother, Sim, is we go head-to-head on Predict the Prem. The way the scoring works is 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result. Star man as well. Once you pick that man, you cannot pick them again for the rest of the season, and it's 5 points for a goal, 3 points for an assist. And the scores on the doors at the moment are 242 to myself, 236 to Sim. And let's get straight into it with Bournemouth against Liverpool. I've gone for 3-1 to Liverpool. Sim's gone for 4-1 to Liverpool. What are you going for?
I think, do you know what? I would have chosen either of those, but because they've just had the four, I'm going Team Ben with this one. I think this is going to be a 3-1, but I think we were all confident it's going to be a Liverpool win.
Yeah, especially on the back of that 7-0 drubbing of Manchester United. Liverpool's tail's definitely going to be up. Gakpo, Nunes and Salah really starting to come into it and play with each other now. And Bournemouth, on the other hand, they had a fairly good performance against Arsenal where they went 2-0 up, but ultimately ended up losing 3-2. So I think they can get a goal, but I think ultimately Liverpool are just going to be a bit too strong for them here. So I've gone 3-1, Sim's gone 4-1. Moving on to Everton against Brentford at Goodison. I've gone for 2-0 to Brentford. Sim's gone for 1-0 to Brentford. And what are you going for?
You know what? The fact that this is at Everton, and they seem to be obviously doing with Sean Dyche a lot better at Everton, and that is a hostile place where that is up. Brentford also the most informed team, or the longest run, should we say, unbeaten run in the Premiership. I'm going to go 1-1.
1-1.
I'm going for a 1-1.
You know what? I was actually thinking about 1-1 for this one, but just the form that Brentford are in, unbeaten in 12, 13 games.
Something like ridiculous, isn't it?
Everton not playing well at all at the moment. I mean, they got that really impressive win against Arsenal in Sean Dyche's first game. Since then, I know they've had a 1-0 win against Leeds, but 2-0 loss against Liverpool, 2-0 loss against Aston Villa at Goodison, 4-0 against Arsenal, and 2-2 on the weekend against Nottingham Forest, albeit at the City Ground, which is fairly impressive because they're not losing many games there. But I think Brentford are just going to be a bit too strong here. 2-0 I'm going for.
Well, I was still wondering, but I think you did, like I said, I think both their wins have come at home, haven't they?
Yeah, Leeds
and it's
and Arsenal,
away. Yeah, so that's all that does it. We all know when that place is rocking, especially like we saw last season when they're down there and they need that 12th man. Everton fans do pull through. So if this was at Brentford, I'd be going completely the other way. Like Brentford win, no problem. But just the Everton fans, I think, might just help them get the draw.
Yeah. All right, moving on to Leeds against Brighton. Sim's gone for 2-1 to Brighton. I've gone for 1-1 in this game. And I kind of feel like in these kind of games, these are the games that Brighton do drop points in. They're very good against the top teams, but sometimes against the bottom teams, they do kind of miss a lot of chances potentially and not win the game. I do think they'll dominate proceedings. Leeds haven't been great, but they did they get a win last time out? I think they won against Southampton a couple of weeks ago. That's when they last won 1-0 at Ellen Road. So I'm just thinking just a hard-fought 1-1 here.
I've gone Team Ben once. I'm not going Team Ben this time. I'm going Team Simeon. You got to remember, you're talking about Brighton not being able to beat the squad. They battered West Ham 4-0 last week, didn't they? So they're against the small teams, although that was at Brighton. This is away at Leeds, which is a daunting place to go. But I can't see anything apart from a Brighton win. Yeah,
Brighton's last 2 away games, 1-1 against Crystal Palace and 2-2 against Leicester.
There you go.
So that's kind of what I'm alluding to here.
You're onto a good thing there, but I think Brighton will just be too strong.
All right, moving on to Leicester against Chelsea. Sim's gone for 2-2. I've gone for 1-0 to Chelsea. I kind of think that performance and result in the Champions League will maybe kickstart their season now. They played really good football in that game. Best I've seen them play under Potter. Leicester, since beating us 4-1, have lost every single game since then. And I'm not really expecting it to change here. So 1-0 to Chelsea I'm going for. What are you going for?
I'm going to put both your scores, a 2 and a 1 together, and say 2-1 Chelsea. I think you're right. I think, like you say, after Leicester beat us, they've lost every game. Well, after we beat Chelsea, they've won every game. So look what we're doing to teams.
We either make or break you.
Exactly. I just think, like you said, I mean, we watched the Chelsea Dortmund game together, and even though they didn't start off well, they really came into it. And it looks like maybe this could be the start of something. And when the chips are down, they might just get this done. So yeah, 2-1 for me for Chelsea.
Next up, Tottenham against Nottingham Forest. Sim's gone for 2-0 to Spurs. I've gone for 1-0 to Spurs. I think confidence is low at the moment. A few maybe injuries to contend with as well this weekend. Fresh injuries in terms of Emerson and Perisic not being fully fit, didn't train. Don't know if that's going to be to our detriment or to our to be better for us. But I think that we will just about get over the line in against a poor Nottingham Forest team away from home. So if this was at the City ground, I'd probably be going for a loss here. But I think at Tottenham, with Nottingham Forest as away form, I'm going for a 1-0 win.
I said 2-2 or 1-1, leaning more towards a 2-2, but I'm going 1-1.
How are we going to score 2 goals?
Exactly why I'm going down to 1-1. Exactly the reason I'm going to 1-1. We'll be lucky if we score 1 the way we played the last few games. So yeah, do you know what? If this had been a few weeks ago or whatever, I may have said Tottenham win quite a lot easier, but I think there's so much outside interference going into this game for us, isn't there? So whereas, we're talking about Everton and how the 12th man can be it. I think if we don't get off to a fast start, how many times do we say that? This crowd could turn, or that we don't even know how many people will be there. Obviously, there's a lot of tickets available. Yes, so just 1-1.
All right, next up, Crystal Palace against Manchester City at Selhurst Park. Both of us going for the exact same scoreline here in 2-0 to Manchester City. And crazy enough, I don't know what's going on with Palace, but they haven't won a Premier League game since like October.
Yep.
Which is mad. Like, to think about the good feeling that was going around the place last season with Patrick Vieira, the way they were playing their football with Conor Gallagher and everything like that. It's just fallen off a cliff recently for them. And Man City, I think they are getting back to it, getting back to winning ways and getting back to playing that good football that they do play. And 2 of the last 3 results against these 2 teams at Selhurst Park have both been 2-0 to Manchester City. So I'm going for the same scoreline.
I'm going 3-0. I think Man City will do it. And like I said, when we went to Palace, I couldn't believe how easy it was for us. When we normally struggle there, and it's not an easy place to go to. They've not been right. I think they're the most out of form team in the Premier League since the new year or since the restart. And I just can't see anything other than a Man City win.
All right, next up, Fulham against Arsenal. London derby at Craven Cottage. Both of us gone for Arsenal to drop points. Sim's gone for 1-1. I've gone for 2-2. And my thinking behind the 2-2 is Arsenal's defence doesn't look great at the moment. They're conceding quite a few goals. Conceded 2 against Villa, 2 against Bournemouth, 2 last night against Lisbon as well. Or was it 1 or 2 last night?
2-2 is it finished?
2 against Lisbon last night. So there is problems in that defence for Arsenal. And I think Fulham are a team that can capitalise in it. I think Willian is going to have a point to prove against Arsenal. I think Mitrovic, a bit off form at the moment, but he's always got the tools to hurt a team like Arsenal. So I think it's going to be a really good game of football with quite a few goals. So I've gone for 2-2.
Yeah, do you know what? I just can't see past the draw. I just can't. Like I said, Fulham, to their credit, have been phenomenal this season. Where they are, people have thought they might be a shoo-in to go down. They have surprised some people and played some good football. And when I have seen Willian playing for Fulham, he looks like a completely different player to the Arsenal one. So you're right with a point to prove. Do you know what? I'm going to change. I'm going to praise God. 2-1 Fulham.
Come on!
Let's do it. 2-1 Fulham. Come on, Fulham.
Manchester United against Southampton next. 3-1. We've both got the exact same scoreline here. And it's going to be an interesting game, this, because Man U need a response after that 7-0 drubbing last weekend. They got a response in Europe with a 4-1 win. But can they back that up in the league? I think they can against the poor Southampton side here. And I think that Rashford will most definitely be getting on the score sheet this weekend. And I can't see past a convincing Man United win.
Was the Man U performance, I didn't watch it at all yesterday, was it away in Europe or was it at home?
It was at home.
Okay, so they've had that game at Old Trafford after they've had that Old Trafford game after the 7-0, so it's not walking in. Yeah,
all the fans were singing Bruno's name, and
they were. Okay, so that's the team in unity. Yeah, but you can't see past the convincing win. Southampton look poor. Apart from that win against Chelsea, I'm going to go same scores as you two, 3-1.
All right, next up, West Ham against Aston Villa, a battle of the Claret and Blues. Sim's gone for 1-1. I've gone for 2-0 to Aston Villa. And I'm just not convinced about West Ham at the moment. You thought maybe they're turning a corner with that 4-0 win against Nottingham Forest, backed it up with a 4-0 loss against Brighton. And before that, they had a 3-1 loss in the Cup to Manchester United. Aston Villa, on the other hand, have won their last 2 games. One against Crystal Palace, 1-0, 2-0 against Everton, albeit they are 2 sides where you probably expect them to beat lower down the table. But before those 2 games, they did have an impressive performance against Arsenal where they scored 2 goals against Arsenal, albeit they did lose the game at the end of the day, but they played all right in that game, and before that they played Man City, so they've had quite a tough time of it. But I think with confidence really at a rock bottom for West Ham, I can see Aston Villa capitalising on this, and I feel like they're playing better away from home than they are at Villa Park this season, so I've gone for 2-0.
I'm going 0-0. I think this might be a shutout. I think West Ham are going to be very, very cagey. They certainly can't afford to drop more points. Aston Villa now, Unai Emery has studied that ship. There's a bit of concern over Gerrard where they were going. So I just can't see past the draw.
All right. Last but not least, Newcastle against Wolves. Sim's gone for 1-1. I've gone for 1-0 to Newcastle. And I think it's just a matter of time until Newcastle get that win. They haven't won in so long. So I'm just thinking, surely it's got to happen this weekend. Surely it's got to happen this weekend. And I think this weekend will be the one it happens. In terms of Wolves, I mean, they're a really hard team to read, to be honest, because one week they're good, the next week they're not so great. I mean, just these four games, their last 4 games, they lost to Bournemouth 1-0 at Molineux. They drew with Fulham 1-1 at Craven Cottage. They lost to Liverpool 2-0, and then they beat us. So it's just like, you just can't predict this team. You really can't predict this team. But this weekend, I think Newcastle are going to do a bit of a shutout job on them with their not-so-great attack anyway. But they'll nick an odd goal from somewhere, so 1-0.
I'm actually going to go more convincing than you. I'm going to go 3-0 Newcastle.
Where are these goals coming from?
Do you know what? This is the thing. They were flying before they got to the final, weren't they? Till they got through to the... once they were going to Wembley, they were flying and the defence was shutting out. And they've been on a bit of a downward trajectory. Never say that word.
Trajectory.
Thank you. I can never say that word. Shouldn't really attempt to say it then, should I? In all honesty. But yeah, I think the Newcastle crowd, we talk about crowds, and when this crowd get behind them, and obviously now they know Liverpool could be taking over us. They know they've got games in hand with us. They'll know they're playing the day after us, aren't they? They're playing Sunday. So they'll know how we do. And I think this is where Newcastle click back into gear. So I'm going 3-0.
Unfortunately so.
Yep.
And then the star man me and Sim have picked. Sim's gone for Cody Gakpo. Liverpool this weekend away to Bournemouth. So that is a fairly good shout. I've gone for Ollie Watkins, Aston Villa away to West Ham, and Ollie Watkins has been on great form in recent weeks. I think he scored 5 in a row. Not sure if he scored in the last game, but he is on firing form. So I've gone for Watkins. Sim's gone for Cody Gakpo. Who's your star man this weekend?
Oh God, star who? If I should star man, okay. I didn't know this. This is a bit of a twist. I didn't know this part was coming. Let's think of all the games we're playing. Do you know what? I'm gonna go with Sim with Liverpool, but I'm gonna go for the other striker, not Salah. I'm gonna go Núñez.
Darwin Núñez.
I think now, I mean, he's had so much grief come his way, hasn't he? And all the memes of him missing a shot. But I think you saw there something's clicking. So I'm gonna pick Núñez.
You know what? I wanted to pick Núñez this weekend, but I've already picked him. So
did he do well for you when you picked him?
No, I picked him towards the early start of the season, and he wasn't scoring at that time. But look, those are our Premier League predictions for this weekend. Let me know in the comment section below what your predictions are and who your star men are. And also let me know who do you think is going to come out on top this weekend, me or Sim. But thank you everyone for joining. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.